Hello, my name is Johnna Newby, and this is section 2 of my lesson plan for 10th grade biology. This is referencing student groupings. I plan to use a combination of groupings, and we'll begin with whole group instruction, then break up into small groups before coming back together as a group at the end of the small group period. I plan to assign small groups based on a combination of factors. I plan to take into account student needs, skill levels, and language barriers, making some assumptions based on my classroom demographic. For this particular lesson, I will pair my students with visual processing limitations together so they can receive additional support as needed. I'll pair my students with language barriers together, and I'll form additional groups with remaining students, placing at least one student with a reading struggle into each group. As I form groups, I will also take into account any behavioral and personality traits that may need to be addressed. I chose my groups this way because I wanted to pair my students with the visual processing limitations together so they can receive extra support. Since this lesson relies heavily on students' ability to distribute factors in a table, I wanted to be sure they can clearly see and interpret the data and information presented. I also placed one highly skilled student in this group to aid with understanding. While I realize in a normal classroom this may vary, for this assignment I made the assumption that my students with language barriers all speak the same language, and I chose Spanish. Since this is a high school class, I also am operating on the assumption that my students can read and write in their native language. Therefore, I grouped these students together so that I could provide extra materials for the group in Spanish and in English to aid in understanding. I also chose to group the remaining students in mixed level groups, knowing that high achievers and low achievers can learn from one another. I placed at least one student with a reading limitation in each of these groups because I believe that other students can aid in reading and understanding. In the formation of these groups, I did take into consideration behavior and personality factors in order to avoid disruption and maximize the small group learning time.